From the depths of the vault, this is Eerie's Vault Live. It's your number one stream for the uncanny, the weird, and the unexplained. Good evening and happy Friday, everybody. Or good morning, or happy Saturday, or good afternoon, whatever day it is, wherever you are, whatever planet or solar system you might be living in. Welcome to the show. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Eerie. We're going to, of course, open up the phone lines a little later on, so psych yourselves up, get ready to call in. I'll tell you how to do that soon. But first, as always, let's begin with a shout out to my lovely, lovely patrons. We have John Diver, David Morris, Ian Lewis, Ramona Craighill, Stu Graham, Brian Henderson, Jerry Shelton, Ryan, Gaynor Smith, John Douglas, Bizjadish 143, Rudolph Hooker, Paul Redruth, Pill Collins, Greg Russell, Iron Bug, Vincent Hegeland, Ben Hurl, Emu Cat, Adam Mitchell, Ginger Ninja, Fasten's Finest, Keith Say, Steadbot, Aaron Osborne, Melv, Heather Maund Jones, Todd Van Voris, Chris Slee, Andrew Dewey, Gregory, Catman, Natalie Leach, Amanda McNeil, Pamela Pepper, Buster Piles, Sawboss, Baroque Lobster, E.J. Osborne, Zach T, and Craig McClellan. Gosh, what a list of names that is, and thank you to every single one of you for supporting the Eerie's Vault Patreon. I wonder if there are many people out there who realise there is a free option, actually, to join the Patreon. A vote of confidence at no cost, if you will. There is a free option to join the Patreon if anybody is interested in doing so, and you can have your name read out in that ever-growing list of A-class citizens right there. Who have we got in the chat? We have Ron Meeg, or Mag, says, number one, I am the first. Ah, Ron, you are the second, because I am the first. I'm always the first on every stream. Welcome, Ron. Darren, good evening, Darren, welcome. YouTube rendering, not swearing, Asa, welcome to the stream. Is that Dan Dare in your profile picture? It looks like Dan Dare, but it's very small to my old eyes. Fleur is with us. Hello, Fleur. Who else have we got? Carol. Hello, Carol. Welcome to the stream. Good evening, says Purple Pipkin. I'm exhausted like a bear going into hibernation. I understand what you mean 150,000%, because so am I. Do your best, that's all we can say, isn't it? Aching Plums, hello Aching Plums, welcome. Hawk the Lesser says hi Eerie and chat, and hello right back at you. Who else do I have here? I don't want to miss anybody out. Rob Lane, hello Rob Lane, welcome. Liz, hi Eerie and everyone, good to be back in the vault. It certainly is, Liz. Feels like a very long time when we have a break, I feel. Who else is here? Darren, I've said hello. And Aching Plums, I've said hello, hello. Yes, I have. So, yes, we're here again. I'm sorry I stood you up last week. The Mad Axeman says hello from Cannock. Hello there, Mad Axeman from Cannock. Say hello to Pigman if you see him. Yes, apologies for standing you up last week. But as those of you who are a certain age, as am I, will fully appreciate, every now and then, you just can't. Every now and then, you just can't do it. After a particularly draining week, I also had to be up rather early to travel all the way down to Lytham St Anne's on the Saturday morning, which is it's a good few hours away from where I am, in the undisclosed location here in the British North, near the sea there, and those wildly blowing trees at the moment. Don't know if there's a storm heading down country, but yes. So I went to the Lapis conference actually on Saturday gone, which is the Lancashire Anomalous Phenomena Investigation Society conference, where we were a little late. As I say, it takes a while. It takes a while to get there from where I am. And yes, I walked in partway through a presentation about a place called Chingle Hall. I don't know if any of you have heard of Chingle Hall before, but that's what the First Lady Joanna Walpole. I want to say Walpole. Joanna Walpole was giving that talk. Then we made the mistake during the break of heading out to try and find a sandwich somewhere, and getting completely and utterly lost in Blackpool's one-way system somehow, and then heading back. So we missed the second speaker, walked in just before the third speaker, who was very interesting, which was Andy Roberts, who's, let's say a UFO researcher and investigator, quite a prominent one, actually, who I'd love to have on the show. I've extended the invitation, who was speaking about the sort of evolution, if you like, of space brothers and these Nordic-type aliens in English UFO lore as a byproduct of what was happening in American UFO lore, and in fact gave me the topic of Cynthia Appleton, which the video I released earlier in the evening today covers in great detail. It was fascinating listening to him talk on that subject. He's done quite a bit of work with David Clarke, who of course outed the Calvine photograph, didn't he, or was very much instrumental, at least, in doing so. Quite a up there in the ranks sort of chap to listen to. It was very interesting. And then Ruth and Stu. Oh gosh, what was their last name? If you're listening to me, chaps, I do apologise. Ruth and Stu. Where's their business card? Neville. There we go. Opening and closing of a drawer there. Ruth and Stu Neville. Ruth actually did a Bigfoot presentation, which that's why I went, actually. That's what I wanted to see. So that was really interesting as well. I'd love to have Ruth on the show to speak about what was alluded to as a theory of Sasquatch/Bigfoot being, well, I'm assuming here, being either a product of or affected by dark matter. So we would love to have that conversation possibly next year. We shall see. One knows how life is, doesn't one? It can change, but certainly I would like to get those chaps on. So yes, that's what happened last week. And I'm still tired, so, I think it probably never ends now. I think tiredness is the new youth. Here's some eerie news for you. Or let's just call it interesting. It might not all be eerie as such. Let's call it interesting news. There has been a study which has upended what was known about the origin of the Easter Island statues. Now, these things have always fascinated me. And the Moai statues, they say there is evidence of decentralized construction of over 1,000 Moai statues. What does this mean? Well, this is from The Independent. And Easter Island's Rapa Nui statues were carved by several independent groups, apparently, including competing families without any central authority overseeing them, according to this new study. The iconic Moai statues, measuring about 4 metres in height, are monolithic human figures carved by the island's Polynesian inhabitants between 1250 AD and 1500 AD. They were carved from the main Moai quarry and transported to stone platforms around the perimeter. But exactly what drove the native population to unite in carving and transporting such enormous statues remained unclear. Previous studies found that the indigenous inhabitants were not politically unified at the time, consisting instead of small independent family groups. And now researchers say there is evidence that the construction of the over 1,000 statues was also similarly decentralized. The latest study challenges previous assumptions that the population building and arranging the giant statues was under some sort of hierarchical control. Instead, scientists say a complex cooperative behavior emerged among the different family groups. They collected and compiled about 11,000 drone images of the island to create a comprehensive 3D model of the quarry, including hundreds of moai preserved in various stages of completion. This analysis revealed about 30 distinct centres of quarrying activity on the island, featuring a variety of different carving techniques, actually. Researchers also found evidence for the transport of carved statues out of the main quarry in many different regions, hinting that Moai construction, like the broader Rapa Nui society, was not organised by central management. One is beginning to think, how many more times is this article from The Independent going to mention that it was not a centralised management structure? Let's find out as we go along. This spatial organisation, combined with evidence for multiple simultaneous workshops constrained by natural boundaries, indicates that Moai production followed the same, here we go again, decentralised, clan-based pattern documented for other aspects of Rapa Nui society. So in 6 or 7 paragraphs, The Independent have managed to say the same thing 6 or 7 times in slightly different ways. I love the Easter Island head statues. I think they're fantastic, and the fact that half of them are buried up to their necks is amazing. I always used to think they were giants, like buried in the soil. Arthur C. Clarke sort of era of awe and discovery, isn't it? All that sort of stuff. Very interesting. That article possibly wasn't. Never mind. Here's from Sky News. Scientists detect what they believe is lightning on Mars. Not life, but lightning. So they've detected what they believe to be lightning on Mars by analysing the swirling winds picked up by a NASA robotic spacecraft. Would you not sort of analyse lightning to find out if it was lightning? Let's find out. A microphone aboard the Perseverance rover captured the crackling of electrical discharges, a French-led research team reported on Wednesday. The researchers documented 55 instances of what they describe as mini lightning over 2 Martian years, which is just under 4 Earth years, mostly occurring during dust storms. The electrical arcs, just a few inches in size, took place within about 6 foot of the microphone mounted on the rover's tall mast, which is part of a system for examining Martian rocks with a camera and lasers. Scientists say sparks from the electrical bursts, similar to static electricity on Earth, can be heard clearly through the wind gusts and dust particles hitting the microphone. The study's leader, author Baptiste Chide of the Institute for Research in Astrophysics and Planetology in Toulouse, said scientists have been looking for electrical activity and lightning on Mars for half a century. It opens up a completely new field of investigation, he said. It's like finding a missing piece of the puzzle. However, another scientist has pointed out that the evidence is strong, but it comes from a single instrument intended to study rock composition, and that the electrical discharges were heard, not seen. It's disappointingly predictable, isn't it, that any news from interplanetary expeditions, we found life. We believe we've found signs of life on Mars. And you think, oh, life on Mars. Let's read it. And you read it, and they find out that there are some holes in rock that may or may not have been made by methane ejected by bacteria or something. And you think, oh, well, that's the least interesting life you could have found. And here it is again. So we have electric storms or mini lightning occurring near a metal object that we have put there. And it's tiny lightning, and it may or may not exist because they didn't see it. They only heard it. Well done, scientists. Very good. SciTech Daily tells us that a tiny red dot in deep space might, there we go again with that qualifier, might be a new kind of cosmic monster. It won't be the monster I want, will it? A newly proposed type of supermassive black hole surrounded by a dense gas shell may account for the small red dots seen in images captured by the James Webb Space Telescope in the summer of 2022, no less. Less than a month after the James Webb Telescope began releasing its first scientific images, astronomers spotted something surprising: tiny red points scattered across the sky. Thanks to the telescope's exceptional sensitivity, these very compact and deeply red objects stood out clearly, and there seemed to be rather a lot of them. The telescope had uncovered what looked like an entirely new population of celestial objects that the Hubble telescope had never detected. That part makes sense. In astronomy, calling something very red means that it emits most of its light at longer wavelengths. These small red sources emit mainly at mid-infrared wavelengths beyond a 10 millionth of a metre, a range that Hubble just can't observe. Follow-up observations revealed that these objects were extraordinarily distant. Even the nearest examples were so far away that their light needed 12 billion years to reach Earth. Because astronomers always observe the universe as it was when the light was emitted, seeing light that old means we are looking back to a time about 1.8 billion years after the theorized Big Bang. Newsweek tells us that an animal thought to be extinct is suddenly found in a small pond. Yes, this is as exciting as it sounds. A fish species thought to be extinct has suddenly been found in a small pond in Bolivia. A rare seasonal killifish has not been recorded in the wild for more than 20 years, and its only known locality is now largely destroyed, having been converted into agricultural land. The rediscovery of the fish offers an exceptional opportunity to conserve a species believed to be extinct and lost forever. For me, it is something special to have rediscovered this fish. This has shown that we now have the opportunity to preserve a species in the wild, said the study's author, Thomas Litz. And this is something that happens, isn't it? I remember at school being told in books, the coelacanth, and this is the big one that everybody always brings out, isn't it? But that the coelacanth was an extinct fish, and I clearly remember that from books. That was taught to me at school, that thing was extinct, even though I was at school in the very early 80s, and that fish had been rediscovered in the 30s. So why on earth were they teaching us that nonsense? So things can go extinct just because they weren't seen. Doesn't mean they're not there. And ladies and gentlemen, doesn't that apply to absolutely everything we might talk about on this channel? I think it does, doesn't it? And from the Natural History Museum, the early hominin Australopithecus afarensis may not be our human ancestor after all. New Australopithecus fossils found in Ethiopia are changing the human family tree. Whilst Australopithecus afarensis has long been considered an ancestor of all later human species, including our own, new research suggests that that might not be the case. One of the most recognizable names in human evolution might not be as related to us as we thought. When it was discovered back in 1974, the Australopithecus afarensis fossil that became known as Lucy was heralded as one of the first humans, and for more than 50 years the skeleton has graced the halls of museums around the world as a landmark in our journey from apes to becoming what we are today. Most recent discoveries have slightly altered this picture, however. These suggested that while Lucy was not one of the earliest humans, her species was still thought to be an ancestor to our own lineage. However, newly studied remains from another species of ancient hominin, known as Australopithecus deiremida, have called even this into question. It now seems more likely that this species is instead descended from an earlier member of the family, Australopithecus anamensis. I hope you're keeping up with all these Australopithecus, are you? I hope you're writing them down. If that's the case, then afarensis might not be the ancestor of all later human species. Dr. Fred Spoor, one of the research leaders in human evolution, says that this idea will cause quite a stir among scientists. For decades, we've been inundated with textbooks and documentaries that say Lucy and her relatives are our ancestors. Fred explains, even when Australopithecus anamensis was named, it was seen as the ideal ancestor for Australopithecus afarensis, so was slotted into the evolutionary tree behind it. The findings in the study were published in the journal Nature. There you go. So it's a lesson, isn't it? In don't believe everything everybody tells you, really. I think that's what we're picking up from that one, isn't it? Who else have we got in the chat? I don't want to miss any new people out. Let's have a quick check. We've got Sheppy. Good evening, Sheppy. Welcome. WM Steadbot. Evening to you. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Jan. Yes. Good evening, Eerie and chat. Yes. Listening while getting stuff done. That's very good. A bit of multitasking. Never hurt anybody, did it? You're doing marvellous work. You carry on. Stephen Truth Seeker says hello. Hello there, Stephen. Yes. And the Shadow Knows says, hi, everyone. Hello, the Shadow Knows. What do you know? What does the Shadow know? Maybe you can call and tell us a little later in the show. Yes, we will be opening up the phone lines in a moment or two. But here's the rules of the road, of course. So if you want to be on the show, the numbers to call will be shown on screen throughout the night, as will the email address, if you would rather email than call, which some people do. What do you share? Well, it can be spooky stories that have happened to you or that have happened to people that you know. You can tell us those stories. You can simply ring us up and tell us about your favourite paranormal case that you've ever heard. You could just tell us about it. You can call up with opinions on the topics that I have covered on the channel, if you want to. You can call up and chat about theories about the unexplained and things like that. There's a huge remit. You don't even have to give your name. You don't have to give your name. How good is that? You can just call, you can tell stories, you can shoot the breeze about the paranormal, anything you like, as long as it's weird. That's what I want. No bad language, if you can help it. No politics or hatred. This is about paranormal mystery, not modern madness. And of course, if you do participate in a call, you are implicitly giving your consent to being broadcast live on YouTube, aren't you? Because, of course, that's what we're doing. Don't let that frighten you. It's just something I have to say. And you may possibly be edited into clips, although frankly, I'm finding it harder and harder to find the time to just do that anymore, as you may have noticed. I don't share your number, I don't share your identity, I won't be adding you as a contact, and any messages that get sent to WhatsApp actually do vanish within 24 hours. So really, unless it's Friday night, I'm not going to see any messages. In short, don't say anything that you wouldn't want on YouTube forever. But don't forget that this is your show and you make the show. It's your knowledge, your experience, and your opinions that make it so interesting for other people out there listening. And you will find that lots of people have had similar experiences to yours. So there will be no judgment, but people will have had similar experiences, and it gets them talking. And that is what makes the show really interesting to me too. So, with all that said, here come the numbers. If you want, get your pen and paper ready, or as we do these days, take a picture of it on your phone, because this is how to do it. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air instead. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird, I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. That's right. The unexplained, and the lines are open now, and this is your night. Let's go for it tonight. If you've been psyching yourself up for weeks, just do it. Rip off the Band-Aid. You'll find it's nothing. There's nothing to it. I could have made that rhyme if I'd really thought about it. It almost did, didn't it? Quick hello there to Tony in the chat. Good evening, Eerie and all. Hello, Tony. And to Steve Wills, who says hi, Eerie, and I say hi right back. So, I do have a WhatsApp message here, and what does this say? Okay, so I know it's early. Just to let you know, I'll call in to talk more about my thoughts on souls, consciousness, and the universe. Yes, you know who you are. I certainly look forward to that one. I think most of us remember the thing that blew my mind. I was going to say last week, but it wasn't, was it? It was this week. No, it wasn't. It was the week before, because this week is right now. Time slip. Yes. So, across the early 1980s and again in the late 2000s, officers from Milton Keynes, Monmouth, Bristol, and the West Midlands all reported objects that defied aircraft identification, mechanical explanation, and in some cases, seemingly, the laws of physics. These are encounters with UFOs experienced by police personnel. Now, there's nothing to say that because you are a policeman or police officer, that your testimony of an encounter with the unexplained is any more credible, believable, valid than that of somebody else. A lot is said of, police officers are trained observers, etc., etc. I do find it rather patronising when channels, documentaries, etc., say, and this was also seen by a judge, you know. Now, well, whoopee-doo. Well done, judge, you know. You're not so special. So I'm not picking this because I feel like it's different when police officers see something, but how they record it often is. So that's why these are a bit more, let's say, spicy, shall we? So Milton Keynes. This was 25th of March 1982, just about 4:30 in the morning. Two plainclothes officers, Ian Victory and Anthony Underwood, were making a routine patrol through the quiet sort of grid roads of Milton Keynes. A lull in the night, street lights reflecting off windscreens, the endless hum of tyres on tarmac. And then, above them, something hung in the air. A yellow, lozenge-shaped object silently suspended over the area. Now, the number of reports that specifically say a lozenge-shaped object is actually astounding when you begin to read them all. Cigar-shaped and lozenge-shaped seemingly outnumber saucers, in my view. However, you could see that a saucer at a certain angle might be considered lozenge or cigar-shaped anyway, so I'm not saying they're all different things. And that's just reminded me of something that I saw. But anyway, we'll get to that later on maybe. So yes, a yellow lozenge-shaped object. They're not saying craft here, they're saying object at this point in time. Oh, look out, this is our first call coming in. That means I need to switch to that screen, and I need to say, good evening, you're on Eerie's Vault Live.
Hi, Eerie.
Good.
It's Steadbot.
Steadbot, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Hello there. I was quite taken aback by your reaction to my comments about the consciousness being the universe experiencing itself. It's very, because I love your channel, by the way. Really interesting. I love all the things that you cover. It's brilliant, especially the fact that it's all within the UK as well.
Yeah.
It's great to just see all those things being local. Do you want me to just go into talking about it, or
sure?
Do you want to know if you've got any questions for me before I start?
Well, just to refresh the viewers and for those who were not present, yes, we were talking about sort of consciousness, etc., and what souls might be, and do animals have them, etc., etc. And Steadbot said in the chat that souls are the universe's way of experiencing itself as individuals, and it blew my mind. Steadbot, tell us what that means.
Well, why I think that. Okay. Well, I think the part that pushed me right to it was a book that I came across that was actually, of all things, about an alien interview, and it was called. Trying to remember the name of the book now. It was called Alien Interview by Lawrence R. Spencer, and basically it talks about some transcripts from an Air Force nurse who was communicating with an ET at Roswell.
Wow. Okay.
So according to this book, now I'll start by saying I'm not a scientist, I'm no professional, I'm just, an amateur who likes reading about all this stuff.
Sure.
I find all of it interesting, whether it's aliens, whether it's ghosts, whether it's, consciousness, the universe. I am interested in science as well, but obviously I haven't got a great brain, so I can never remember facts and numbers.
You're in good company with me then.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much information that just comes in from everywhere. But one of the things that I do sometimes is I digest all these things that come in. So anyway, going back to this book, the nurse describes that basically the way the book goes along the lines of this alien won't communicate with anyone else except her. And it starts off where they think it's because maybe because she's feminine or because of being a female, she may be more empathic. But this extraterrestrial refused to talk to any of the other military people at this base. and would only talk to her. And it wasn't even a voice contact, it was a telepathic communication. So again, they thought there was a particular reason that she, like a biological reason that she was the only one who could communicate with it.
Okay.
But it turns out, as the story goes on, I won't spoil too much, but the alien was actually specifically intending to talk to her. Now, one of the explanations that comes in the interviews is that the alien actually indicates that it is not, it's almost like a remote control robot, and that it actually is projecting its consciousness into this alien so that it could communicate with her. And so this was all the sort of, when you hear about people who talk about out-of-body experiences,
oh, yes.
And being able to remote view and all that kind of thing. So it joins up, if you like, with all these different things that you hear about, the idea of being able to leave your body, or your consciousness being able to leave your body. And then there's all the other things that have come up over the years, like I think you might have mentioned it in your show a couple of weeks ago, where they measured the weight of a body before and after death, and there was like a few grams difference, and people think that may actually be something leaving the body when people pass away. So that feels like there's a physical measure. But then I connected other things as well. I don't know if you've ever heard of something called 20 and Back, which is basically another, I don't know what you want to call it. I won't call it conspiracy theory, because it's not really something that's supposed to be a conspiracy. But the idea is that people have claimed that they've been taken away as kids and then recruited in some sort of space force, and then they live 20 years, and then somehow they are regressed back to now and put back in their young bodies again, and then they are alive now and just living their normal life.
I never heard of that. Yeah.
Memories. Have you not heard of that?
No, that's a new one for me. You've blown my mind again.
Yeah, well, welcome to the world of... this is the really deep paranoia stuff. I mean, I watch and read a lot of American stuff where they really go into it, and, all the Roswell stuff. Anyway, I'm getting to the point about the soul eventually, so please bear with me.
Yes, yeah.
So one of the things that I thought about with that, because a lot of them claim that they're only slowly remembering things about this alternative life as they're growing up. And so I was thinking about if, like, our soul is attuned to our bodies, more connections that I've already thought about, which I've not told you about. So going back to, obviously, the soul has to inhabit our body somehow.
It's a container, right?
Yeah, like a container, and everybody is unique. So obviously, I wonder if somehow our DNA doesn't just tell our body how to grow, but is almost like a program to tell our brain how to grow and tune into what our consciousness should be or whatnot.
I see.
And the reason I think about that is because there is something called epigenetics, which again is another, really is based on genuine science. And it was basically an experiment that was done at a university where they conditioned mice to fear a smell, so that if they encountered this smell, they would run away from it, and then obviously if they didn't, then they would get food and all this kind of stuff. And they discovered that their offspring were born with that sensitivity to this smell.
Oh.
So the idea of this was to see if memory could be passed genetically. Now, what I've also read, which doesn't appear in any science papers, is that when other people tried to perform the same experiment, they were using a completely separate batch of mice, if you like, that were not connected, but they were already sensitive to that smell. The only thing that connected them to these mice were that they were the same breed. They had nothing to do with them on a hereditary point of view. So they were not offspring of these rats.
Oh, right.
They were only connected by species, not by physical being their offspring. Does that make sense?
It does. So somehow the learned behaviour transmitted itself into unconnected same species.
Yeah, and this is referred to in other conspiracy circles, for want of a better phrase, as what's called akashic memory. And this now connects onto other things like famous people such as Einstein and Tesla, who all basically claimed that they received their knowledge through thought processes. Like they were able to basically sit there and imagine things almost like as if it's a 3D graphical view in front of them and all that kind of thing. There was a famous guy whose name escapes me. I can't remember his name, but there's a famous guy who actually appeared out of nowhere in India, swore blind that an Indian goddess was giving him mathematical formulas in his dreams. And scientists are now actually discovering what these formulas mean, and they've some of them have even been used to prove existing theories and stuff like that. But this guy was like, I don't remember when it was, but it was a good 50 years ago that this guy appeared and wrote all these formulas that they just didn't understand at the time.
Wow.
So again, it's almost like a connection of these memories. Now, whether that was forced on them by some other consciousness or what, I don't know. But it goes on. So when you talk about, or not you specifically, sorry, but when we talk about, say, for example, religions and near-death experiences, and when people talk about when they pass away and they experience this afterlife or heaven or hell or whatever it is that people want to call these things, there's a lot of similarities. There was this again is something me connecting stuff that I read, but there was a book written by a lady who died for about 5 or 10 minutes, but actually experienced like 30 years in heaven, as she put it. And I think that was the name of the book. I think it's like 30 Years in Heaven or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, so anyway, but one of the things that she talked about in her experience was that while she was in this ethereal place, she experienced meeting some entities that made her experience her life event through the minds of other people.
Wow. Okay.
So she cited an example. She said, for example, when I was a child, she said, I pulled a cat's tail, and then I was made to experience that moment as the cat having my tail pulled.
So this is karmic. This is karmic stuff, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that, I mean, that's Buddhism. Is karma.
Yeah, yes,
Karma
it is.
basically teaches that you will, what quote goes out comes back and all that sort of thing. I'm losing my words now.
Yeah, but it's right. What comes out comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and most religions teach do unto others as you'd have done unto you. You know what I mean? And that brings it all back to karma and everything. So my thoughts were that if she, when she had this experience, she then goes on to describe again in this book that a relative of hers that had passed away before came and actually took her away from there and said, "Oh no, you're not ready for that. That's not your time yet." And then obviously she led her back to being alive again. But she'd already experienced some of this stuff. And my thoughts were, well, if that's something that happens, say if you pass away and then you are, as a soul, made to experience your life experiences to other people, maybe that's not you experiencing that, but that's your consciousness returning to whatever the universe is, or the central consciousness, being reabsorbed, if you like, back into that system.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable. Not in the words of like, I don't believe it. That's wrong. Unbelievable. It's incredible and absolutely unfathomable, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It is, as you say, mind blowing.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So with karma, then. So here's the rub.
Yeah.
Why do you think? Why do you think we? If this is a thing, let's say, why would it be necessary for us to learn lessons and experiences through karma rather than the consciousness just giving us the rules up front so we know what to do? Do you know what I mean?
Right. Now, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And that's something that came up in the Alien interview book.
Okay.
Not directly answering that question, but something that answers it for me. Because basically in that book, the alien describes that many of our souls are actually trapped on Earth. And that is because there is like a system that is set up that prevents us from being able to leave. And it's not actually, it sounds malicious, like we're imprisoned, but it was actually set up by consciousnesses that wanted to experience something more restrictive than where they are.
I see.
So imagine you're imagine you're like a being that has no limits.
Yeah.
You have no body. You've got no physical constraint. You can go anywhere you want in the universe. You
So
can do
I'm
anything.
Q.
You know everything.
I'm Q from Star Trek. Yeah.
Spot on. Yeah, like a Q. And I mean, they kind of cover that in the Star Trek series. They get bored.
Yes, that's right.
And they don't know what else to do, so they want to experience something limiting. And that's what this book goes on to describe. That they kind of set up an agreement that they're kind of going into, where they will, basically be forced into these situations, but it's for them to experience it and go. And just as you mentioned with karma and Buddhism, where basically we are sent back to Earth to learn more lessons until eventually we can move on to the next plane and all that kind of thing. People call it raising your, I want to say frequency, but that doesn't sound right when I say it aloud.
No, I know what you mean. The 7 levels and all that stuff. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. So increasing your level of consciousness and all that sort of thing. So that was why I was. These are all things that I've connected together, and I'm well open to any questions. Say, well, actually, what about this?
Yeah,
what about that? Sorry, go on.
I'm sorry. Just one question that has jumped into my mind there. So the sense of a consciousness experiencing itself through a biologically reproducing organism, does the nature of biological reproduction create new souls, or are all biologically produced vessels filled with a soul from the center?
Yes, good question. I don't know the answer to that because I don't claim to know that this is all correct or true. It just seems, these are all just things that seem to fit together. But that is, that's something that's crossed my mind before I even got to this sort of thought process. Because, as you say, if we say that, because one of the things that struck me when I was younger and I was learning about other religions and things, I never forget having conversations with Jehovah's Witnesses. And nothing against any faith or any religion in any shape or sort of form or whatsoever, but I was taken aback by the comment that no, animals don't have souls. They were put on the earth for us to enjoy. But I'm like, well, that just doesn't gel with me. It doesn't fit right, because I think that animals do have souls just like we do. But then that begs the question. So if, say, we'd love to know that our dogs have a soul, because they pass away, they go on to a new life, or they come back and visit us in our dreams, or whatever else happens. But if a dog has a soul, then surely a rat should have a soul.
Yeah.
And surely a stick insect should have a soul. An ant should have a soul. And that gets to your point, is that means there must be billions of tiny souls.
Yeah.
Or is it that these are all, I've used the phrase tuning fork, like DNA basically programming the biological vessel to be a tuning fork or part of the consciousness that it draws from. Less credible, but I've heard a comment from a TV program that suggested that I forgot his name again now. Nikola Tesla.
Oh yes.
He once claimed that we were all just automatons that were, or self-propelled robots that were just powered by consciousness.
Now that's funny, because in the chat here, Blazing R2B has said certain animals seem just like biological robots. For example, salmon know just encoded DNA making them swim and swim and swim.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's another part as well, which I thought about along the lines of that I saw something that suggested our brains, the neurons, because people have compared neurons to the shape of like stellar clouds and things like that.
Yeah,
and
the shape Mandelbrot fractals and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, Mandelbrot's the perfect example. That's a fractal pattern that can be generated in 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions. There are suggestions that our neurons may actually be connecting in dimensions beyond those that we can measure.
Oh my God, of course, yeah.
And that would lend into the idea that it could be that our brains can tap into an energy that we currently have no way of measuring.
And there's your time slips, your hauntings, your contactee experiences explained.
All that sort of stuff, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I could go on for hours, but I don't want to bore everybody. I mean, those are just, some of the things that I've come across. I've made notes, which is why I've probably come across quite disjointed in the way I've described it.
No, it's a good way to do it. Yeah.
It's only, because I didn't. There's things that I can remember when I meander, but I wanted them all in front of me so that I could try and remember some of them, because some of them are actual books that I've read, and I've just sort of thought, well, that makes sense. That that was another one that I thought about. Twins.
Now, I was going to ask you, where do twins fit in if the souls are all individual?
Yeah, and again, it depends on, like you say, if they are individual, then twin synchronicity doesn't quite work. However, you do still get a variation. I mean, we have natural entropy in biology in general. So it could well be that, because you get some behavioural synchronicity between twins sometimes. Yeah. But there's also if we're all vessels tuning into a consciousness and just having a bit of that program, then that would certainly explain why, say, 2 people who share very, very similar or identical DNA experience strange things. I mean, I've read odd incidents of people. So there was one, again, this was a TV program I saw in the 90s. It was one of them sort of unexplained things kind of thing. And it was this lady, these 2 women in America. They were identical twins, but they lived in different states. And one of them was happily sitting there watching telly while her sister, unknown to her, was going into labour. And when she was going into labour, she was having complications. So they gave her an epidural, but it didn't work. Meanwhile, her sister was watching telly, went to get up and found that her legs had stopped working.
Oh, God, yeah.
And a completely different state.
It's incredible.
So, and that's, and that's messing about with the nervous system and the brain and all that kind of thing, because they're obviously injecting something to try and stop certain parts of the synapses working and things like that. I mean, not a doctor, don't know a lot about epidurals, but I know it has something to do with injecting stuff into the spine and things like that.
Stops stuff working for sure. So we're almost in quantum entanglement realm. I mean, it's a catch-all phrase, it seems, these days, quantum entanglement.
It is, but again, it fits in, doesn't it?
It really does.
You have 2 parts of the same particle. It doesn't matter how far apart you separate them, but they both are in synchronization. You spin one up or spin it down, and the other one does the same.
That's it. No matter where it is. What do you think about savantism then in people? Being is that a let me think what I'm trying to ask you here. So
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting because of the fact that they just seem to be able to access all kinds of information
immediately as well.
Again, if your brain is so structured, again, I'm not a neurosurgeon or a neuroscientist, but I would have thought that if there is proof that our brains can tap into the consciousness or dimensions beyond what we know, does that mean that someone with savantism has literally got something that's unlocked and it's tapped into an area that a free flow of information?
Absolutely,
that can't stop.
Just like the signal is stuck on open or something all the time. I was put in mind of the 2 savant sisters in America. I don't know if you've seen those ladies. They're obsessed with Dick Clark from American television, and They love watching Wheel of Fortune, etc. And they,
right, no, I don't know about them.
yeah, it's not only savantism, but it's savant twins, and they finish each other's sentences, etc., etc. It's fascinating to see. So
Wow.
here's a thought then. If
Yeah.
the human brain as a neural network is the thing that allows us to make plans, decisions, and act upon those plans and decisions, then, and if we also therefore assume that a central consciousness made the decision to put itself into us to experience itself, what is it about the consciousness that permits or enables it to make decisions if it's not a brain like ours?
Wow. That's, I will answer your question
Yeah.
with again, this is my. I'm sure it's an ADHD thing, but I'll answer your question with something else that's seemingly random, but the same thing. And that, I've lost it now because I've talked myself out of it. So, what was the question again? It was if. So if we're making decisions, if it's our brain that allows us to make our decisions, what is it from the global consciousness that makes it want to make the decisions,
or allows it to make the decision? How does it make decisions? Assuming it doesn't have a brain. Yeah.
You saying, for some reason, you reciting it worked better than for me. So there was a recent thing I saw. Again, this is going into quantum mechanics and science. Annoyingly, I can't remember where I read this. I think it was like one of these random news articles, and it seemed to be from a reputable source, but I can't quote it because I don't know. But basically, they were. Oh, hang on, I'm buzzing. Is that not?
It's the consciousness trying to contact you.
Shut up, Wade. Right. Sorry. Going back to the. So there was a new thing I read recently, that came up recently in quantum mechanics science, and basically it was saying that I can't remember how they worded it now, but basically it almost makes it sound as if free will doesn't exist. Is that decisions you make in the future will actually have already affected things that you do now, or things that happen to you now. Yeah. The time flows in both directions, or rather that it doesn't flow in any direction.
We move through it.
Experiencing it in one direction. Yeah. And that almost makes it sound like free will doesn't exist, almost, because something that you're going to do in the future affects what you do now, but you've not done it yet, which almost makes it sound like everything's already preset.
It does.
Which does bring me down to something that makes me think that I would like to be wrong about my own theory. Because if it is a case of the universe is experiencing itself by allowing us to experience life as a conscious individual, only to be reintegrated back into that consciousness, then at that point of integration, does that mean I disappear as an individual?
I see. So are you replaced?
Well, not replaced. Do I just? Am I just absorbed? Do I lose that individuality? Do I disappear?
So what am I?
That's a scary thought. That's an existential thought, really.
It is, isn't it?
And it almost makes me a little bit nervous. But the universe already exists. We exist. So that's the bit that scares me about my thought down that thought process.
Yeah, like just to not be all of a sudden.
Yeah, just to, I mean, I suppose we all want to be remembered, and I guess that if we are absorbed into the consciousness, that will be remembered. I don't know.
And you may never know that you've been remembered anyway, I suppose.
Yeah, no, well, this is it, yeah. I mean, this is something that it must cross everybody's mind. It crossed my mind.
It does.
I mean, I have relatives who have passed away.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the only thing that remembers them at the moment is me and the other people who are still alive that experienced that person. I mean, we have photographs and we have videos and things like that, which are sort of memories of people. But they're compared to, say, like, for example, we all know who Albert Einstein was.
Yes.
We remember that person, and he existed. There's photos of him. We know a lot about him. But there are millions of people who lived and died, and we know nothing about them. And it almost feels sad. But, it's life, isn't it? And it may be, if there is a universal consciousness, that individual will be remembered in that consciousness.
Yeah.
That is that consciousness experiencing it.
Yeah. So maybe...
Which does bring me to another thing as well, which was something that Stephen Fry once said. I don't know if... Do you ever watch the TV program QI?
Oh, I did years and years ago.
Yeah, I used to love it. I still watch it occasionally, kind of thing. But they were talking about religion, and Stephen Fry was very anti-religion in the sense that, why would an all-loving God invent something such as cancer in children? And that is such a hard-hitting statement. And you can't argue with that statement. It's like, yeah, why would anybody do that? But I think if the universe was trying to experience everything, it's going to be indifferent about it, good or bad. And that almost explains why bad things have to exist.
Well, yeah, I mean, the ultimate, why does the consciousness that is experiencing itself through us, as it were, why does it keep destroying itself?
Yeah. Why does it allow? Why does it allow biological creatures to exist that are just existing to destroy each other?
Wars and all that,
Yeah. So, but I would imagine that if it really is that universal, it could well be that it doesn't have a. I can't say not a conscience, but almost like it's just indifferent about it.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It's just an experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Gosh, you've given us a hell of a lot of food for thought there tonight.
Yeah, I feel like I've just sort of given it to you on a very, very messy plate, like a platter.
No, it was wonderful. What a call! Absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
But love your channel and your shows. Really, really do carry on with it. I really do enjoy it. It's brilliant.
Thank you very much, sir.
I really appreciate it.
I appreciate your call. I can't tell you how much. It's been wonderful. Steadbot, thank you very much indeed.
No problem.
Okay.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Eerie. Take care.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
That's the top of the hour, folks. Just gone. Well, what do you make of all that? What a call. What a call. Wow. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air and state. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird. I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. That's quite right, and we're into the last hour of the show now. And Dingley Dell, if you do have several encounters, then and you want to relate them, then by all means, yes. If you're standing by, I'm going to give you a call in a couple of minutes. That's a shout out to Dingley Dell there. That's right. So, what do we think about all that, ladies and gents? Consciousness, the universe, and all of its strange ins and outs. All Gone Wrongful says, I've just tuned in, so it might have been mentioned already, but I remember Bill Hicks did a bit on this, the news anchor on acid, saying we're all just the universe experiencing itself subjectively. Yes, and I suppose we never really got into sort of DMT discussions there. I'm sure, Steadbot, that's something we can do on another call. I imagine it all links together somewhat, doesn't it? Yes, Dingley Dell, stand by your beds. I'm going to attempt to do the switch to WhatsApp and give you a call. This is the nerve-wracking bit now. Hello, Dingley Dell. You're on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome.
Good evening.
So you have a couple of experiences, some involving glowing orbs. Do you want to tell us about those?
Yes, yes, a couple actually. Over the years, I mean, I live in the northeast of England, so I'll apologise to any listeners who don't pick up on my twang.
They're used to weird accents, believe me.
Yes, I do watch your programs, and I do really like your accent. Actually, it's one of the nicer things about listening to it. Anyway, I have a couple of encounters that I've had over the years. I've always been interested in UFOs from an early age. I remember buying the book Project Blue Book when I was about 13 or 14, and I'm one of these people who tends to look up rather than look down. Back, I would say in 2021, I know it was 2021, around about November, because COP26 was on at the time in Glasgow.
COP26, what's that? Tell me.
It's one of those sort of get-togethers by all the heads of particular countries.
Right, yeah, sorry, yeah.
One recently in Brazil, hasn't there, a COP30?
Sorry,
was it Brazil?
I'm with you now.
Anyway, I'd taken I'd taken my dad, who was 89 at the time, to the local surgery for a flu vaccination or a COVID, vaccination. And he said, "Oh, I'll make my way in. You just wait outside." It was quite a nice day, actually. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and even though it was early November, the weather was quite nice. It was quite a clear bluish sky with a little bit of cloud cover, and I'd sat in the car for a while, and I thought, "Oh, I'll stand outside and stretch my legs." So I was in this surgery car park, with my arms sort of across the roof, just looking around, folded.
Yeah.
And this guy, I noticed there's a church in the road opposite, a Methodist church, and this guy appeared, and he had his phone pointed up towards this tree, and I thought, "Oh, what's he doing? Is he taking a photograph of a bird or something?"
Yeah.
And then he looked over at me, and then he looked back up again, and then I noticed he came towards me, and he said, "Did you see that?" And I looked up, and there was this large jumbo jet that was flying north, heading up the country towards Scotland. And I know it was a jumbo because it was quite low. I would say about 5,000 feet, something like that.
Okay.
But it was flanked by a couple of fighter jets, and it had 4 of these glowing orbs very, very close to it. Only about, maybe, I don't know, I'm guessing a couple of feet in diameter. But they were equispaced to either side of this jet. And it looked as though they were forcing the jet off its path.
Okay.
And back out towards the North Sea. As if the jet was trying to fly north, but they were forcing it to go where they wanted it to go.
Yeah, sure.
That was the impression I got. And this guy, who I've never seen before, was saying to me, "That was weird." And he'd actually was pointing his phone up, taking pictures of it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very strange also. I mean, not only these orbs were so close to the jet that it looked dangerous, I thought, what could they be? They weren't attached to the jet, but they were flying in formation. It was very strange.
So it was it was something that was orchestrated. If it's in formation, so what did they look like? These orbs, were they all the same?
They were all the same size, to either side of the jet, as if they were flying in 4 equispaced corners.
Yeah.
But very difficult to explain, and why they would be there. I mean, have you ever seen a jet fly over with 4 very bright, intense orbs?
Certainly never. What colour were they?
Well, they're bright white,
Right.
glowing white. You couldn't make anything of the interior of them. They were just very, very bright. The other experience I had involving a single orb was, I would say it was about 15 years ago. It was a dark, must have been a winter's night. I know it was a Friday because I'd got into a routine of going with some friends down to the local golf club, and just having a few beers and a game of snooker. And one of the guys had said, "I'll pick you up this night," and he said, "I've got a car full. We'll squeeze you in." So he picked me up at my house, which was only about half a mile from the club, and we drove down towards the golf club, and you sweep down a lane past a junior school on the left. And I'd looked out and saw this orb, this bright orb hanging sort of in the sky, only a couple of 100 feet up over the grounds of the junior school. So I'd mentioned it to people in the car, and they'd said, "Oh yeah, but might be a Chinese lantern or something like that."
Okay,
anyway,
right.
we drove down to the golf club, and parked in the car park. And because I was so aware of it, when we got out of the car in the car park, I'd looked out and it was over the practice area, hanging there. And it seemed to get closer, and I could actually see that it was about the size of a basketball, I would say.
Okay.
With an orange, with a glowing orange interior, but with like a life force inside. You know those things you used to see on school shows during the summer, where they would have an orb, electrified orb that would make people's hair stand on end.
Oh, oh gosh, Van de Graaff things.
And there'd be like a bolt of lightning sort of between the person and the orb.
Yeah.
Anyway, it had like a life force inside, which was just like a little sort of lightning sort of thing and I could actually see that it was that close.
Wow.
And it sort of hung there as if it was watching us for a few minutes. And there was about 4 or 5 of us in the car park. We'd all got out of the car, and I said, "Look at that there." And I know it wasn't a Chinese lantern, because it then proceeded to fly up, or whatever way it was propelled. It moved out towards the sea against the wind.
Yeah, that's not a lantern.
And picked up speed and then flew up the coast towards sort of, towns further up, like Sunderland, that sort of area.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very strange also. And I've never forgot that.
It was. So was this sort of, are we sort of saying that inside it was electrical?
Yeah, it was sort of, it was glowing orange, and it had like an electrical sort of staggered, sort of
like those plasma balls, isn't it?
Lightning force, like a small lightning force, like an energy force.
And do you think that was a being of some description?
Well, who knows? I mean, you hear these things now about beings taking different, everybody years ago used to think a being had to have 2 legs, 2 arms, and a head.
Yeah, that's right.
But in this day and age,
maybe not.
I wouldn't put any form of sort of existence, to question.
Who knows? That's the thing, isn't it? Do you think it was sizing you up at all, or seemed interested in you from the way you've told it?
It seemed very strange. Yeah. But I got the impression the other people who were there were sort of, let's get in the golf club quick and out the way.
Yeah, where the bar is.
It was only myself seemed more interested. Maybe because I have more interest in that sort of thing.
Certainly, yeah.
But yeah, it was very, very strange, and I've never forgot that. Well, I've never forgot both instances.
Yeah, they're very, very sort of remarkable things, and it's odd that when you said the size of it, I was expecting you to say like it was the size of a car or a minibus or something, but then you said basketball, which in itself is quite unusual.
Yeah. I think when I was younger, I just assumed, I used to have everything in my head that if a being lived or was residing inside a craft, it would have to be at least 20 foot wide.
Yeah, that's it.
8 foot tall. But I think as you get older, you realize that maybe some things don't need to be that big to exist in some sort of, unidentified flying contraption.
Yeah, contraption. That's a good way to put it, isn't it? Yeah. It is. Gosh, yeah. That thing with the plane then, like they were forcing it off track. That's quite worrying.
I tell you what was very strange about that was the fact that COP26 was on and this plane was heading north.
Yeah.
As if it was heading towards maybe Edinburgh, Glasgow. And I mean, don't get me wrong, why the need to force off a jumbo jet away from flying north would be, necessary is strange.
Unless it was merely a demonstration of power.
Yeah, very strange thing. And I wish I could bump into the guy, actually. I don't know who he was. I'd never seen him before in my life, this guy. So I assume he didn't live local, but why he would have been there is strange.
Yeah, I'd love to
And
see the
how,
photos he took.
well, if he did manage to get any, that were clear, but it was very, very strange. And the fact there was as if there was a couple of military jets either side as well, was strange also.
Yeah, that adds a real different complexion to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, I can't remember if at the time if that was at the end of the COVID, breakout.
Yeah.
It would be it was the first 2 weeks of November 21. So whether that was relevant, I mean, not that that's relevant, of course, but I'm trying to think if the country was still sort of under lockdown sort of measures or something like that.
Do you know what? I can't remember either, to be fair, when it ended. But
probably the back end of that sort of time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How unusual, very strange. Well, thank you very much for calling and telling us those stories. Yes.
Thank you. Well, thank you for listening.
Not at all. All right. What do we think to that, everybody? Thank you.
And I do enjoy your shows, so keep up the good work.
You do. I'll take that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dingley Dell. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheerio.
Bye now.
Strange orbs, ladies and gents. That did surprise me. To say it was the size of a basketball. It's quite unusual, isn't it? You expect it to be a, vehicle-sized thing, don't you? John, I've got your WhatsApp message. It says, I emailed you about my paranormal experiences earlier in the month. You forgive me, John, but there are about 7 or 8 Johns that email me. So just to help my aging brain, if you want me to give you a call because you've got something you want to give to the audience tonight and tell, just say yes in the WhatsApp chat there, and I know that you're expecting me to call you back then. And then just forgive me for not knowing which John you are. I apologise. There's several Johns. Yes. Orbs is what we were talking about. Well, lozenges, actually, wasn't it? Lozenges in Milton Keynes is where we began some time ago. It's reminded me of something, what Dingley Dell's just mentioned there being COVID. The switchboard seems to have closed itself down. Bear with me just a moment. Let's kick that back into life. Apologies if anybody's been trying to call there. That's back on now. So yes, it's reminded me of, and I may have given you this story before. I don't know if I have, but yes, mentioning COVID times there reminds me of something my wife and I saw during a COVID walk. Where we used to, you've been at home all day, you can't go anywhere. We used to do a walk around the block, right? And I guess this is in my mind because somebody was talking about clouds and UFOs recently. Oh gosh, was it YouTube? What was it on? Was it me? It might have been me. I don't think it was. UFOs being, let's say, strange cloud formations that seem like clouds apart from occasionally having an angular element that looks most certainly like a solid surface. That's what kicked this off. And then with Dingley Dell saying COVID, that has just mashed into my mind. this weird cloud that we saw. So we were walking along, nice and as you do, just getting some steps in, as it were. And we came to a path sort of leading downhill. Just happened to glance up. This would have been, I would imagine, something like 7 p.m. maybe. And it must have been in the darker months because it was dark. And we casually glanced up and we both saw it at the same time. Now, what it was, I don't know. I'm just going to explain it to you. I have no suggestion about what it was, but it is still slightly disturbing, actually, to this day. So we turned this corner to walk down this hill and looked up in a gap between the houses. And there, in the sky, were several sort of dark clouds, one of which just got your attention. And it wasn't doing anything unusual. Wasn't doing anything weird. But it just commanded your attention. And then the more we looked at it, the more we realised, or I realised, I'm not going to speak for my wife, but she did at one point just say the same sort of thing as me. As I looked at it, it felt unnatural, I suppose, is the way to say it. It felt unnatural in the sense that it just didn't appear to fit in with the other clouds. It didn't do anything strange. It wasn't moving strangely. It wasn't glowing or flashing. But there was something about that black mass in the sky that I could not take my eyes off. And the more I looked at it, I realised that the bottom of this cloud, as it were, was very cloud-like. It was, vapour-like and nebulous, as it were. That's at the bottom of it. If you imagine I don't know, like a upside-down Cornish pasty sort of shape. There you go, that's a new unit of measurement for UFO people. It was 9 Cornish pasties long. Yes, so the bottom was all cloudy, and then up to the edges was all nebulous and vapoury and cloudy, as was the front elevation, as it were, that I was looking at, as was the top of it, except that the nebulous sort of mist, as it were, on the top of it appeared to be spilling out from a very straight horizontal plane, almost like, if you can imagine looking at an infinity pool from outside of the infinity pool. And you know those swimming pools where it looks like it just falls off the edge. Well, if you were not in the pool, but if you were outside it looking at the pool, you would see water falling over the edge. You would largely be seeing water. However, you'd note that it was tumbling down from a very straight horizontal plane. It looked exactly like that to me. And, without really saying what we'd seen, my wife and I looked at each other, and we knew immediately. We didn't have to say anything. We knew this thing looked weird and out of place. And the more you looked at it, and I don't know if this was then confirmation bias or whatever you want to call it, I'm pretty certain it appeared to be moving. I'm going to say towards us. I don't mean at us. I mean in the direction that we happened to be stood. Very, very slowly moving in our direction, but at the same time almost appearing not to move at all. It was uncanny, out of place, and it made us feel very, very uncomfortable. And even now, it didn't do anything. It didn't attack us. There were no, creatures. It was just an uncanny, weirdly straight edge at the top of this otherwise normal-looking cloud, surrounded by other normal clouds. And, my wife is going to have to remind me. I can't recall if it disappeared after we'd walked away and looked back or not. I don't think it had. But I remember being very unnerved by it. And I've never really truly understood what it was. I know that's a fairly sort of, it was a weird cloud sort of story, but there you go. It's a very recent experience that I had. John, yes, apologies, I'm waffling on there. John, I'm going to give you a call now. Thanks for jumping my memory. Yes, so we've read quite a number. I don't think we ever got to the end of it, actually. Rob says, did you get the feeling of being watched? I don't think so. However, I think I had the feeling, this is hard to explain. I don't know about being watched as such. I'm assuming that question's for me. Sorry if it's not. But certainly there was a suggestion of potentially some intelligence behind it. I think that's the best I can put it. Oh, Cupcake, my Hellcat 76. Yes, quite right. There is something about things being too still and too quiet. It just wasn't right. It was not right at all. John, here we go. Brace yourself, John. We've read lots of John's stories. I haven't actually got to the end of his email yet, but...
Hello there.
Hello, John. Welcome to the show.
How you doing?
I'm not too bad at all. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Very interesting live.
Oh, yeah. We've had
Fantastic.
some good stuff tonight. Yeah. I haven't even got to the end of your email yet. I've been doing it in chunks every week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's more to come, but what have you got for us tonight?
Right. Basically, how do I start? Much of my life has been pretty strange. With
you might just have to extinguish your volume on the.
Yes, I've just
there
done
you
that.
go. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know where to start. I've got my own theory on all these weird things, all the things that you have on your vault.
All right.
Whether it's ghosts, paranormal, UFO, etc. I've got a theory on it. My theory is this: when I was a child, I had quite a few weird things happen to me, all unconnected, various types. But it seemed to stop until I was 29 years old. I've just mentioned it on the chat. From a Twisted Mind. That's the name of the band I'm singing.
I see.
Now what happened was it all kicked off again, 1995. Me and my ex-wife and a lovely couple we know We're just spending a day out in the countryside over the South Downs in Sussex. And on the way back home, we spent the whole day out in the countryside, and we were just driving back home. It's just before dusk, very hot, about August time. We took the road that goes from Petworth, then you veer off left towards Bognor Regis.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the road. There's a hamlet along there. But we're just driving along there, chatting away to ourselves. And there's woods on the left, woods on the right-hand side, and the road's a little bit up and down. And I saw something very, very strange, and I thought I must be hallucinating. So I looked at my wife. She looked terrified. And I said, "Did you see it?" She said, "Yes." And then Ali, Chris's partner, she's a bit of a one. And with that, she just screams, Chris, did you see that? Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So we pulled up the camper van. It was an old knackered up old thing.
Yeah.
And we were like, a bunch of 30-year-old Scooby-Doos, if you like,
Yeah.
So we decided to go and investigate this tree, because what we all saw was a huge oak tree, probably about 25 foot from the road. It's just an A road, single track, double track road.
Yeah.
And as I say, it was hot. It was still. It was a lovely evening. It hadn't rained for a while. No wind. And if you can imagine this oak tree, all the lower branches, that you can see, and obviously the taller branches are covered in leaf, obviously.
Mm.
But every branch on that tree was shaking. It was moving. It was shaking. Every branch was literally shaking up and down, as if it's, if you put your arms out like Jesus Christ on a cross, and then suddenly wave your arms up and down.
Okay.
That's what the tree was doing.
Mm.
We were a bit freaked out. I'm a burly guy. So's my mate Chris. So we said to the girls, "I'll stay there. Don't come too near the tree."
Yeah.
And we're looking for ropes. We're looking for whatever. We're expecting to find a bunch of kids there or something.
Messing about.
No
yeah.
ropes. There's nothing there at all.
Mm.
This is the freaky thing. I decided to walk around the back of the tree.
Yeah.
On the wood side, and couldn't find anything. So I turned around to look towards them, and just behind the trunk was a load of little bones, little bird bones, rat bones, just bones, little piles of bones, and some stones, little stones, little flint nodules,
Okay.
So that freaked me out, and then Chris come to see. And as he looked at it, I went off, because the tree was in a bit of a clearing. Sorry. So I went off to one side. I noticed that the grass is about 4 foot tall, 4 foot tall. But where, you've got brambles and things, where this tall grass was going into the woods, there was a section that was completely flat, as
Okay.
if someone had like a one-man tent there, cutting the grass down.
Yeah.
And there were empty tins, and someone was obviously camped there the night.
Sounds like it.
And
yeah.
I just had a really weird feeling then, what with the bones and someone camping in the tree. So I just got a feeling I don't like it here.
Yeah.
It feels odd. Then suddenly I realised it felt odd, and I just got a feeling. I mean, I'm a bricklayer. I used to do karate. I was a bit of a lad's lad.
Yeah.
I'm not easily scared.
But when you felt that, you just knew it, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
I just had a feeling of, I wouldn't say it was terror, it was awkwardness, eeriness.
It's like a survival instinct, isn't it, almost?
Yeah, I just didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So I said to everyone, "Come on, let's go." We got in the van. This is the funny thing. We got in the van, and it wouldn't bloody start. And it wouldn't start. And it wouldn't start. And it wouldn't start. It was old. It was on its last legs.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the camber of the road, it was going downhill.
Oh, so you could just
So
kick it in. Yeah.
We bump started it. We bump started and got it in. But I know I ramble on, sorry, but this is the ending of it now. This is the queerest part of it. Was the minute it kicked into life, we got in the car and we realised it's getting darking. It was getting dark. I had a feeling of absolute sheer bloody terror. And in my mind's eye, it was almost as if, because it was getting dark now, it was almost as if, I don't know if you know the Stephen King film, Lagoliers, or whatever it's called. They're all in an aeroplane.
Oh, no, I don't know that one.
It was like that. It's almost as if, as we were going on the road, I felt as if we were being watched, but I felt as if everything behind us was sheer black, sheer evilness, like a massive tidal wave, miles into the sky, enveloping us. I felt that. When we got back to mine, we had a drink, and the queer thing is, we all felt that sensation of pure dread and terror and evilness rushing over us.
Wow.
And we just had to get out there as quick as possible.
Yeah.
That's it. But I'm beginning to think that the more you delve into these things, oddness, and the more you experience in it, it's odd. I'm wondering if it's connected to DNA and blood types.
Well, you see, this links in quite well with the whole sort of universe experiencing itself through biological organisms, doesn't it? And, you know, the Japanese have a curious habit of, they put their blood type on their social media profiles because there is still a big belief that certain blood types denote sensitivities to certain things, you know. So Pisceans might be really good artists, for example, or, you know, an Eeries might be good at, what do Eeries are the rams, are they? But, you know, each blood type isn't, that's not blood types, is it? Sorry, O negatives might be good artists, etc., etc. So maybe there's something to that.
Yeah, because I'm actually I only found out during COVID when my mum had a clear out and gave me my the card that they give you, you know, when you're born, when you come out of hospital, you know, and it's got your date and you're born and your weight and so on. And I had on there Eeries negative, and I had no idea I was Eeries negative.
Now then, so all gone wrongful in the chat has literally at the same time just put, is it RH negative that's got spookiness attached to it?
And the other odd thing is, I've recently I've not been working for a few months now with health issues and things and life and so on, which is why I'm sort of like recollecting on the weirdness of my life in particular. And I took a couple of tests, online tests, and I found out there's a test you can take, personality types. I think it's to do with Jung or someone 111. And I took the test, and I have apparently I am personality type INJF, which is only I think 1 or 2% of the population have that. Eeries negative blood is about roughly 6% of the Western world population. I've got green eyes, which is the rarest. So, you know, because of wonderful people like yourself and the wonderful medium of YouTube and the weird things that have happened to me in my life, obviously I go searching for answers on YouTube, and the more you find, I just find that life is bloody odd. The world is odd.
It really, really
is. The more you learn, it poses more questions, but it answers a lot of questions, but it poses further, you know?
It does, and maybe realizing that, I've often said on the channel that, you know, perhaps answers are not necessarily the be all and end all, but just the discovery itself is the love, if you know what I mean. Just for people, INFJ is introverted, intuitive, feeling, and what's the J?
Oh, well done. because I've forgotten.
Yeah, I can't remember the J, but I knew
Oh, well done.
it's got intuitive and feeling in there. So immediately, you
Yeah.
know, that's a sensitivity, isn't it, to things? But that it suggests. I think somebody in the chat actually suggested it sounds like somebody being practicing occult. Yeah, it was. Was it all gone wrongful again? No, it was Sheppel or Sheppy rather. Sounds like it
Oh,
could have
wonderful.
been practicing the occult with the bones, etc. Did they look placed there?
That's the thing. That's the weird thing, because it didn't look on first inspection, because they were very close to the actual trunk, where the trunk meets the ground.
Okay.
Very close to it. Now I just thought, that's bloody weird. Oh, there's some bones. Oh, there's some more bones. There's some more bones. They were random. They weren't in any pattern at all. They weren't spread out. There was like half a handful here, and then sort of like 6 inches away, one or two there. And then, yeah, they were totally random. They were scattered in a very small area, probably around, I don't know, probably about 15, 16, perhaps 20 inches max in that area, but not in a circle, not defined. But, you know, a little pile here, a little pile there. Yeah, that's all. But now you mention it, yeah.
Because it's not something you tend, you don't tend to see that, do you? You know, it's an unusual thing to see.
It is. And the fact that someone had obviously had like a little old-fashioned bivvy, a little one-man bivvy there, and left their rubbish there. So someone had obviously been staying there, you know?
Yeah, left some bad juju behind by the sound of it.
Yeah, but it is up on the Sussex Downs, you know. It's now a national park, South Downs National Park. There's lots of wonderful things around here in Sussex. Lots of wonderful things. But yeah, I mean, the other thing, I don't want to ramble on. I'll shut up in a minute. I don't get out much. Is local to me, about 3.5 miles away. It's a very famous yew tree forest, Kingley Vale.
Oh yes.
And there's trees that are about 2,500 years old, yew trees. It's the second biggest yew tree forest in the world. I spent a night there to do your orbs. So basically, I moved to Ireland. I explained that in my email. Came back home to England. Marriage broke up. Met a new girlfriend. We spent a night in Kingley Vale. I'll ping you the photograph and email it to you.
Yeah.
So we went to stay up in the woods for the night, and walking up the hill through the woods, we saw a green orb fleetingly. It basically followed the contours of the land. It almost approached us, stopped or slowed down, and just whizzed off. We thought nothing of it.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, because I've gotten into Sasquatch and everything weird, everything on your channel, you know. But the weird thing is, I swear, all these things have happened, and that's the thing, because I feel as if half the time I think, well, why does this happen to me? Thank God I've got witnesses with me.
Yeah.
You know, but why do these weird things happen? But that night we drank and we ate and we put on a little pop-up tent in a lovely place in the forest, made a little fire, got to sleep about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Thought nothing of it. During the night, my girlfriend woke up and said, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Now, I was half asleep. I'd had a skinful. So I was half asleep. I didn't pay any attention of it. And that was it. She said, we're moving. And I just thought, what the hell are you on about? You know, just go back to sleep sort of thing, you know. Didn't think anything of it. But in the morning, our tent, if you imagine a room, say, I don't know, 13 foot square, and the tent was in, say, a corner it was actually facing west, due west. So the entrance of the tent was facing west. The campfire would have been in the middle of the room. When we woke up, the tent was in a completely different space.
Oh, wow.
And it was sort of like, yeah, and we were actually facing south.
Oh.
We've moved about 9 foot. and the entrance of the tent was completely different direction.
And is this on a flat? Was it on flat ground?
It was what it was. It was halfway up the backside of Kingly Vale,
Oh,
so it was on a hill.
yeah.
But as you got up the hill, because of either flint mining or drovers or whatever was
So it
going
sort
on
of stepped a
back
bit.
in the day,
Mm.
yeah, there was. We were on like a flat level part, so that's why we camped there,
Sure.
because it was nice and flat. Yeah,
Gosh,
but it's fascinating.
it is, and there's
But
plenty of it. Plenty of it.
yeah, so I'm the reason why I wanted to phone you, speak to you tonight, because my theory is, whether it's to do with blood types, or DNA or whatever, I've noticed that it's not just myself, other people. Oddness seems to gravitate, perhaps yourself as well. Oddness seems to gravitate towards certain people.
I think it does. I think we discussed it with Fleur actually a couple of weeks ago, that we think certain types of people certainly are, I suppose you use the phrase, more tuned in, whatever that means, right? But more tuned into this stuff than others. I think it just is inescapably true, really.
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I used to keep these sort of things to myself, because you've got this whole stigma. You tell someone, then you open yourself up to be criticised, to be laughed at.
Yeah, that's it.
But in now, I'll be 60 very, very soon. But now in my later years, I don't give a damn what anyone thinks of me.
Too right. Yeah.
But there you go. That's it. I think wonderful channel. Absolutely love what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
And it's great that you're doing these live chats and creating a kind of community around it.
We certainly are.
Really appreciate it.
Building a little world, we are, yes. Well, I appreciate the call, John. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you. Right. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Eerie. Thank you.
Not at all. Cheerio then.
Cheerio then. Thank you. Thank you.
There we are, ladies and gentlemen. Creepy things, interesting things, fascinating things. It all happens on Eerie's Vault. And of course, it's a place where we can all share this stuff without any fear of judgment, ridicule, whatever. As you hear every week, we're open to this sort of stuff, and it's an open forum for discussing it, because we're never gonna, we'll never answer these questions, those guys, but we can discuss them and experience them and talk about them ourselves, and that's what's really interesting to me. I like facts and figures of this was investigated on this date by this person. I do love all that stuff, but you cannot beat a person's real life experience. And that's reminded me, and again, I'm sorry if I've told you this before, I don't think I have, but I was in a seaside town on the east coast of England, where there is a sort of, I don't know, there's a bit of a river there, and a sort of wooded area. I know that's probably the same for many seaside towns. But yes, essentially I'd walked slightly out of the town on a walk and into this wooded area that I'd never been to before. So I thought, let's go and have a look. Let's have a look in these woods. And there's a bit of a river and there's some trees, and I saw a fox actually, which I thought was asleep. But it was dead. That wasn't, I don't think that was part of what I experienced. I hadn't thought it was. And that didn't frighten me. That isn't what the experience was. But now I think about it, yes, I did see a dead fox there. But I persisted into the woods because it was a beautiful day. Beautiful. And an enormous heron flew overhead, and it was majestic, and it was like a pterodactyl flying overhead. It was amazingly huge thing. That's not the experience. And I got to this section that was, if you can imagine, like a dirt path, like a clay path. It suddenly became what essentially looked like a BMX trials bit, like a bumpy, uppy, downy sort of path, quite high ups and quite low downs. And it looked like there were tyre tracks and things. So I think really it had been used as a sort of trials, not motorbike trials, BMX push bike stuff, or maybe it can't have been skateboards because it was dirt. So I think it was bikes up and down. Now, there was nobody there. I saw nothing. I heard nothing. But I took 2 steps from the heron flying over and me thinking, what a beautiful day. The sun was out. It was nice and warm. Mountain bikes, that's it. It was nice and warm. Nature was everywhere. It was beautiful. And in 2 steps from there, I felt the coldest dread I think I have ever felt in my life. The absolute coldest dread hit me like a ton of bricks, and I felt like I was being watched from the trees. Now, there weren't a lot of trees. There were enough that it was a pretty dense cover. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. I didn't have any sense of what this feeling might have been. But I felt absolutely in the most mortal danger I have felt in my life. And I've had a few experiences with mortal danger now and then, not necessarily a paranormal kind, but that feeling, and to snap into it so quickly from enjoying the beauty of nature to 2 steps later feeling like if I don't get out of here right now, I'm going to die. And I got the hell out of there. I got out of there. I have no idea why. I have no idea what that experience was. And I'll tell you something else. I 100% will never go back to find out. I think it's a survival instinct that kicks in. Maybe there was a human there, just with ill intent. Who knows? Maybe it was an area of, I don't know, whatever bad energy it might be. I can't explain it, but that's what happened, and I hightailed it right out of there. Listen, ladies and gents, thank you for tonight. What a wonderful show that's been. This is what Eeries Vault Live, this is what it was in my heart when I began this channel, and tonight has really captured the absolute spirit of Eeries Vault Live. So thank you to each and every one of my callers tonight. You've done an amazing job there. We really appreciate all your calls. Thank you to all you guys in the chat. It's been buzzing away in the corner there, faster than I can keep up with it. I want you all to have an excellent weekend, and this has been Eeries Vault Live. Thank you all ever so much. You may have noticed I don't know how to end shows, so let's say good night